I'm Shannon Ireland, your host of a Healthy Push podcast. I struggled with anxiety, panic disorder, and agoraphobia for 15 years. Everything used to be hard for me. Even just driving 5 minutes from my house used to feel impossible. But now I absolutely live for travel and adventure, and I experience lots of peace and joy. I've not only reclaimed my life, but I've helped hundreds of others to do the same. Here, we stop managing anxiety and instead we create a healthy relationship with it. One where you say goodbye to the anxious thoughts, symptoms, panic attacks, and fears, and you actually live your life. Forget complicated strategies, quick fixes, or the same old hacks you've heard 100 times before. Each week, I'll bring you simple, actionable advice and honest conversations that lead to real, long-term healing. You aren't just an anxious person, my friend. There are reasons why you're struggling with anxiety, and these are things you can fix and heal from. And this is where that journey begins. Welcome. You're right where you're meant to be. All right, guys, we're sitting down for another Q&A episode, which I love these, but this is going to be a little bit different, and I'm really excited to have you all meet somebody new. So, you've probably heard me do these episodes previously with Annie, who was a past student of mine. We worked together for a little bit, but now she's moved on. She's just so busy with her own business, which is wonderful. But moving on, I'm like, what am I going to do? Who am I going to have come on and do these Q&A episodes with me? And I am just so excited because I have Mary with me, who's actually my podcast editor. So she knows the podcast. She's in it every single week. And two, she has lived experience with anxiety and panic disorder and all the things. So, Mary, welcome to a Healthy Push podcast.
Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful to be here and honored. And honestly, I have just loved what you've been doing with the podcast. I think it's just wonderful. And yeah, I'm just excited to be a part of it. I know this world so well. I think it's perfect for me, and I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, me too. And we vibe so well together. So I know this
Yeah.
was going to be a really good conversation. But before we go in, tell us just a little bit about who Mary is.
Well, I am the audio editor for A Healthy Push, but the one thing that makes this experience so wonderful for me is I'm actually a recovered panic disorder and agoraphobia struggler. I struggled with it for so long. I was diagnosed in my early 20s. I'll be 40 this year. I struggled for about 6 years. I went through every type of cognitive behavioral therapy, medication, and it was a really huge part of my life in which I now reflect back on. And I'm just so grateful that I have come out the other side. And then I found you years later and, ended up working as an editor on your podcast. And I feel like, wow, I feel like just right at home. It's amazing to be just listening to your guests and hearing what they have to say because I can resonate so deeply with the struggles that they go through. And it just feels so nice to know that there's a voice like you, Shannon, out there giving advice.
Yeah. Oh, it's so cool when it comes full circle and you can look back and you're like, I can't believe I went through all that. I can't believe I lived that. And I can't believe I'm here now. And my life does not look anything like that anymore. And that's just so amazing. But yeah, you will get to know Mary a little bit more. Before we dove in to recording, I was like, we should have you on to share your story with anxiety, panic, and agoraphobia because it's a really interesting one. Like, I love those stories, having those stories of like hope and recovery is possible and just being seen, heard, and validated is so, so helpful. So let's get us started, Mary. I'm going to hand it over to you and we'll jump into the first question.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so our first question is, I freak out whenever I feel stuck or trapped. I don't get it. Why is this happening?
Oh my gosh. So, this I always say is like the biggest reason people struggle with panic disorder and agoraphobia is you've typically had a moment or moments, right, where you have experienced anxiety or panic and you've been in a place or a situation that is not ideal to experience anxiety and panic in. And when I say is not ideal, it's basically any place, any situation, right? Like nobody wants to feel really anxious. Nobody wants to panic. when they're not in an environment that's safe and comfortable, and that's typically home. So when you have this fear of like, I am going to freak out, especially if I feel stuck or trapped, it's typically just because you've experienced that before, right? Like you've been, like you were saying, through a drive through, you've been sitting at the doctor's office, you have been waiting in line, and you're like, I can't get out. And everything in my body is screaming at me to get out. So, this is such a common fear, and you're not broken, you're not weird, you're not crazy, none of that stuff. It makes so much sense why you freak out when you feel stuck and trapped. And it's really just because you're anticipating, right? You're anticipating, I'm going to feel really anxious. I might panic. I might lose all control, and I'm not going to be able to get out, and I'm not going to be able to handle it. I always tell people, right? Like, we make these associations between the places and situations. Like, I can't go here. I can't do that. I can't be in that place or situation because I might freak out and panic. Well, it's not the place, it's not the situation, right? Unfortunately, it's everything that's going on internally and how you're responding to that, which is causing this to continue to pop up. So if you're always acting in this way of, this is dangerous, I need to get out, right? I can't be with this feeling, this is going to continue to pop up. And not just in certain places and situations, but it will start popping up in any and all places and situations, which I know we can both relate to, right?
Mhm, totally, like, I just feel like it's, like, that need to control. And
Mhm.
you know what? Nobody has any control really most of the time. Like, I think it's almost an illusion that we have control in our life. Like, someone said this to me one time and it really made a lot of sense. It was like, you trust people and in your environment way more than you think. Like, think about it. Like, if you're driving your car and you see a red light and you stop your car, you have to trust that everyone around you is following the traffic signal as well. Like, everyone's going to stop when that red light is red. Like, you trust that. Like, you subconsciously trust that. And I feel like that really helps, like, when you start to get this uncontrollable, like, "Oh, I gotta control my environment so much." It's like, no, you really don't, because there's so much of your life that you're subconsciously accepting you don't have control over, and this is just another thing you have to accept, you know? That you don't have control. Like, whenever I was in a situation like that, I used to always say, like, "Let me invite the feeling of panic in at this time." Like, I'm starting to feel it, and I'm gonna invite it now. I'm gonna say, no, like, okay, I'm feeling stuck and trapped and I'm feeling panic come, and I'm gonna invite it even more. Like, all right, hit me. Like, give me your
Yeah.
worst. Let's do it. And when
Yeah.
you start to invite it, it doesn't come.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you shared that, and I love that you talked about the control, right? Because a lot of it is this perceived control. Like, we want that control so badly, and we'll cling on to it, but we don't actually have this control that we think we do. And it's so funny because I do the example that you gave. I think about this all the time. Like, I think of how many times I get in my car, get on the road, and you're driving, whether it be back roads, highway, and you're just trusting that everyone's doing their thing, right? And that they're doing it safely, and you don't even really think about it. But yeah, when you're struggling with anxiety and panic, right, you are thinking about all the worst case scenarios, all the bad things that could happen, the things that might happen. And then you start to go along with all that stuff. And before you know it, you're like, okay, I'm full on spiraling. So, yeah, I think I just want to reiterate here, like, this freaking out whenever you feel stuck or trapped makes sense. And if you really think about it, I'm sure you'll arrive at this place where you agree it does make sense. And this is something that you can unlearn, right? Like, you can show your body that the feelings, although they're really shitty and we don't like feeling them, aren't actually dangerous. We can be with them no matter where we are, no matter what place or situation we're in, and we can work through it. And so, with that practice, right, of having a different response, a healthy response, the fear starts to ease up, and you'll notice, like, oh, I'm not experiencing it, right, in any and all places. I don't feel that huge sense of feeling stuck and trapped, but it takes that practice. Absolutely.
Okay, do you wanna do the next one?
Yeah, let's go to the
Let's
next
go.
question. I'm
Okay.
always curious. I'm like, what is coming?
Okay, so we're gonna do question 2. Why do I still get panic attacks even though I know what's happening? And I've been working on this for a while. Ugh.
Oh my gosh. This Such a good question. Such a big, loaded question. But I feel like let me talk about maybe a couple of the big reasons, the biggest reasons, because I feel like there are so many reasons as to why this can happen. But I would say let me just start with validating. It is frustrating as heck. Like, it is so frustrating when you're like, "I understand, like, I know what's happening. Logically, mentally, I get it, and I'm also doing so much work, and, like, I'm actually taking steps that are supposed to be helpful, right? But I'm still panicking." So I think a big part of this is because recovery isn't just a mental process, right? And what I mean by this is it's like going to therapy every week, right? And expecting that you're going to change just by showing up and going to therapy. Well, we know a lot of the work and change and healing comes outside of the therapy sessions. So, this is very similar to the work that you're doing, right? When you're working to recover from panic disorder and agoraphobia is you have to show up every day. This is not just like sitting down and listening to a podcast episode or reading a book or going to therapy. Like your nervous system needs some retraining. It needs to learn safety and it needs to learn trust, and this takes time and it takes repetition and it takes a whole lot of patience. And so you really have to think of it like a muscle. Like this is something that you're working on retraining, and it is going to take some time. It's going to take some repetition. You don't just build it overnight. So I think along with this, I want to say it can be frustrating as hell when you're like, I have been doing so much work. I've been doing so much good work. I'm still panicking. Self compassion is a huge piece of recovery, right? And you've always got to meet yourself with that compassion. Allow yourself to feel the frustration, allow yourself to feel discouraged, to feel defeated, whatever it is. But you've also got to meet yourself with that self compassion. And it's okay, right? To have these moments where you're like, I'm still panicking. What the heck? But you're meeting yourself much more gently and you're allowing yourself to be human. I mean, I know this was one of my biggest struggles whenever I would experience a lot of anxiety or panic when I was working to recover. I would kind of quickly go to that place of, what the fuck? Like, see, you're not healing. You're clearly not doing enough. Like, you're missing something, right? You suck. You're back at square one. Here we go again. Like all these stories, I would just beat myself up so much and talk about eliminating, right? So much of your self confidence, so much of that trust and safety that you've been working to build. When you're talking to yourself that way, it's just like, gosh dang, no wonder, right? No wonder it feels so hard and it feels like it's going to take you forever to come out of it and it might feel even impossible. So you've really got to meet yourself with that self compassion and acknowledge, right? You're teaching your brain something new. And it's hard for our brains to learn new things, especially when it's had months or years or a decade or more of doing something a certain way. So it's like, I always say you gotta let yourself be human. And there is gonna be moments, right, where you're like, I'm still having panic attacks. Like I am doing all the things. And that's okay. That's just part of the process. But there's also this really big but, right? I always tell my students, you've got to be honest with yourself about what the heck is actually going on, meaning what's going on in your life, how much stress is there, are you really taking care of yourself? Also, what are your actions and behaviors? Are you supporting yourself in a way that's going to be helpful? Are you really doing the things that you know are going to be helpful? Are you really teaching your brain that anxiety isn't something that it needs to fear? Or are you reinforcing some of those unhealthy pathways that we're trying to get rid of? So, like, this is a big part of it too. You have to be honest with yourself because sometimes when you're continuing to get panic, it's because there is a lot of stress, there's a lot of overwhelm, you're not supporting yourself, you're maybe not responding in the healthiest way to anxiety. You think that you are, but you might not be having that healthiest response to it, which is going to cause it to keep showing up. So, that checking yourself, checking in, being honest, like that is such a huge piece too. Of course, Mary, I'm wondering what you're thinking, but there's so many layers to this one. Like, I
Yeah.
keep having panic and I don't get why. There are so many reasons why this can happen, but I think those are the 2 bigger ones that I wanna highlight.
I like 100% agree with you specifically about the it takes time. It's like almost like if you're working on trying to get abs or something like that and
Yep.
you're doing crunches every day for like a year or 2. Like how long does it take to really get abs? Like if you want to get abs, you have to get like eat low fat, you have to make like dietary changes,
Mhm.
you have to do like all these things and your body doesn't just like all of a sudden have abs. Like that's exactly how coming out of panic disorder works. It's like you have to be able to like give yourself the grace to put the time in and not be too hard on yourself because it really does take so long to retrain that survival instinct that's within you. That's like overreacting, right?
Yep.
I feel like panic disorder really hits people like a ton of bricks. Like it did at least for me. Like I had a totally normal life. Like I was working full time. I had a band that I performed live with. Like I had healthy relationships and a healthy social life. And when panic disorder hit my life, it was like almost like just like being hit by a train. Like so when my life wasn't reflecting my old life right away, like it really hurt. Like
Yeah.
it was hard for me to compare my old life with the new little bits of progress I was making because it wasn't my old life and I wanted my old life back so desperately. I think it's just important to understand that like even though it feels really difficult, you're really like brave and you're braver than you know, like going through it. And when you come out on the other end, you're going to be so proud because most people walking around can't really relate to the journey of getting through panic disorder and coming out on the other side. Like most people can't even relate with how difficult it is to kind of fight your own mind. And I do think there's a lot to be said for the journey through this. And even if it seems difficult right now, there's a possibility you're going to look back through it and go, hell yeah, I did that.
Yeah. I'm so glad you saying, like, that you would make that comparison, right, between your old self and your current self who's really struggling, and I think that's one of the hardest things, right? Because everyone that I work with, I hear all the time, I used to travel. I used to just get in the car and go. I used to say yes to everything. And like, that's not me right now. And I think that's why I talk about self compassion so much because it's like, you gotta let yourself be human. And it's okay that you're struggling with this. And it's okay that it's really hard. It is really hard. So, yeah, that's so, so valid. But I think with this, right, it's okay that you're still panicking. I know that you don't want to. I know that you don't want the panic attacks to keep showing up, but just stay focused on taking the healthy action and they will fade. But meeting it with that frustration is just going to keep that sort of cycle going. So,
Yeah. A lot of panic attack sufferers are definitely type A personalities, like people who are
mhm,
go-getters, people who strive in their life, people who aren't lazy. They always want to be up and doing something. And I
yeah.
think a lot of people fall into panic disorder because they want to achieve and they want to do stuff. And I feel like that's such a crushing thing for an overachiever to say, "Hey, I got to take a step back and I got to, I got to rest for a while and I got to look after myself." And I think that's such a hard thing for a lot of people who are that type of personality, you know?
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, that's a huge majority of people that I work with, like the go-getters, the perfectionists, the type A people, like,
Yep.
and you want to apply that to anxiety recovery, right? Like, I can just fix this if I do XYZ, tell me exactly what to do, I'll do it. And it's like, ooh, the doing doesn't work so much with anxiety recovery.
Oh my god, totally true. Okay, you wanna go on to question 3?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. I feel like I've tried everything. Therapy, breathing, journaling, and nothing is helping long term. What am I missing?
So what I'll start with is kind of what we were just saying, right? You can be doing a lot of things that are really helpful and really supportive, and it does just take some time. And trying your best not to meet that with so much frustration and having a lot more self-compassion and just reflecting in those healthy ways and like, hey, no, I am making progress, right? Like I have been able to do things that I wasn't able to do months ago or weeks ago. You've got to notice that stuff, but I think this is something that pretty much all of my students who come into the Panic to Peace program will tell me, Shannon, I've tried everything. And some people will say, I don't think that your program is going to work because I've tried it all. Like I've literally done everything there is to do. And This is such a beautiful moment when people come to me and tell me this because I'm like, okay, and now you're ready. Because you've tried it all and you've sort of learned there's no amount of throwing shit at anxiety. There's no amount of trying to get rid of it. There's no amount of trying to find the right thing that is going to heal my relationship with anxiety. So I say this all the time. It's not about managing. Like, you can't keep trying to manage anxiety, meaning, I'm doing all the things, right? I'm doing the breathing. I have the good morning routine. I am taking medication. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like, I'm going to therapy. I am doing the breathing exercises. I'm doing all the things. Sometimes we get stuck in this trap of just managing. Like, I am trying to just make it go away. I'm trying to get rid of it. I'm trying to quiet it by doing all the things. And you're not actually working on creating a relationship with it. You're just like, but no, 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 no. I want the anxiety to go away. Well, yes, of course you do, because it's showing up in a really big, scary, disordered way, but we can't push anxiety away. Like, it is really not trying to hurt you, it's trying to protect you. And yes, it's not doing the best job, but it's also not doing the best job based off of how you're responding to it, right? So I think real healing isn't about managing. Real healing is about taking a look at how you're supporting yourself, how you're responding to your emotions, your habits, your behaviors, whether or not you're facing things, right? Allowing yourself to face rather than avoiding. There's so many pieces to this, right? But I would say, if you feel like you've tried everything and nothing is helping long term, it's likely because you are just trying to manage and get rid of anxiety. And we've got to shift that. This is the biggest reason why I struggled for 15 years. I was that type A perfectionist, overachiever. I can do it all. I will go to therapy. I will try medication. I will do all the practices. Tell me what to do. I will do it better than anyone. And I continued to struggle. So it doesn't mean, by doing all the things that you're necessarily doing anything wrong. It just means you're maybe not actually focused on the right things. And you probably just need some really good support and guidance, because this journey is really hard and it's really hard to do on your own. And it can be really isolating enough as it is to go through panic and agoraphobia and feel like nobody gets it. I feel like a crazy person. Nobody understands what I'm going through. So I feel like that's another layer, right? Is you can be doing all the quote right things. I always say it's not about right and wrong, it's more about helpful and not helpful. You could be doing all the most helpful things, but sometimes you just need some support and guidance, and you need a community, and you need somebody to help encourage you. Like, that's a big part that's missing for a lot of people when they come to me. They're like, literally, I have had, this is kind of mind blowing now, like me saying this out loud and sharing this, but I've had at least 4 students or 5 students, probably a handful of students that have joined Panic to Peace say to me, I literally joined 1 or 2 sessions and that was all I needed. And it like gives me goosebumps even now. And I'm like, what? I remember when the first person told me this, I was like, what are you talking about? And she was like, I literally just needed to hear other people are struggling and other people have experienced the same things that I have. I needed to hear, like, I'm not alone. I'm not crazy. This stuff all makes sense and I'm going to be okay. And that's just such a wild thing, right? Not to say that's it for everyone, but I think just recognizing, right, there are so many so many things that we're sold on that's going to get rid of anxiety, but we don't want to get rid of it. We want to build a healthy relationship with it. And that's probably the piece that you're missing.
On the topic of this question, with journaling, breathing, stuff like that, I personally felt that was very sterile for me. It
Yeah.
felt too like I was listen, I'm like, "Buddy, I'm panicking. I'm not gonna freaking take a journal out, my, like, nice little magical pen." Like, the way that the people give you these kind of ideas, like, "Oh, you should do this breath work." It's like, I'm freaking panicking right now. I'm not gonna sit there and be like, and like, get into
Yeah.
this like zen headspace. Like I think I'm going to die right now. Do you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And I think like a lot of the worst panic attacks I ever had, it was like both sides of my brain were doing different things. Like I wasn't going to be logical because I was panicking. Like I wasn't going to be logical enough to bring my journal out and my pen out in the middle of a panic attack. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I just wanted to, like they say, like, fight or flight. Like I just wanted to just get out of the situation. And I feel like that can be really frustrating when you're having such raw emotions like panic, when people are suggesting, breathing and journaling. It can be kind of like eye rolling. It almost feels like that person doesn't understand what a panic attack really is. That's why you're so valuable, Shannon, is because you've actually lived it. And I feel like a lot of people who try to help others haven't actually been through it themselves and they don't understand. And I think a lot of these people that are trying to peddle all these different types of things to do don't really understand like how desperate you are in the middle of a panic attack, and I totally agree with you. Like I think the way to get over panic disorder, like and really nail it in, is to have a personal relationship with it. Every single person that experiences panic is experiencing it through their own personality and their own person. And I feel like we all have our own thoughts, our own tendencies, and our own individual feelings when we have panic attacks. And I feel like sometimes when we take the advice of people that are like journal or breathe or whatever, it makes us feel so disconnected from ourselves. And the root of the panic is coming from us.
Yeah, and it's okay to not do these things. Like, in my program, in my community, I don't teach these things. Like, I don't teach breathing exercises and journaling, and I'm not teaching you how to manage anxiety because I know that that will keep you stuck. And I'm not saying that these things can't be helpful or supportive. It all like really depends on what your intention is with these things, and that's a whole thing that I go to in the program. But what you were saying is something I really want to hit on for a second is you really do have to get more at the root of like not just why you're struggling, because I always say people struggle for all different reasons and you don't necessarily need to go back and figure out exactly why, but you do need to uncover the root of what your relationship with anxiety looks like. What are your patterns? How are you responding to it now? Like, what does that look like? Because we've got to heal that. Because what you said is so spot on. Like, if you were just throwing shit at anxiety, you're trying to get rid of it, you're using all these things to try to calm it, you are just further disconnecting yourself from your mind and body, which removes a lot of safety and trust. And that is one of the biggest problems in anxiety recovery. And this actually is funny timing because right now I'm working on a free class all about how to build safety and trust. And so if anyone's listening and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I can relate to all these questions." I want you to take this class when it comes out. It should be out in a couple of weeks, but this is one of the biggest things that I wish somebody had told me back when I was struggling was you are so disconnected from yourself and your body and you don't have safety and trust and you've got to have these things in order to heal. And it was such a mind-blowing moment for me when I realized this in my recovery, and it wasn't just, like, a moment, right? But it was, like, multiple moments, and I was like, "Shit." Like, I am just so disconnected from me, and I'm just trying to throw everything at it, and, like, what am I doing? And so, yeah, there's so much to this one, but I feel like definitely this class on building trust and safety is going to be super super helpful, and hopefully this has helped people too to understand like why this class is going to be so important for people to take and helpful, because when you don't have safety and trust, it's like recovery is really impossible. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. Okay, let's go on to the next one. I feel like I'm constantly on edge, even when nothing is quote unquote wrong. I always feel like something bad is going to happen. I can't seem to relax. Why do I feel this way?
Ugh. It's like, take me back. I remember feeling this way a lot, like, even just sitting at my house, like, you're trying to just watch a show, you're trying to just be, and your mind is like, "Nope. What if?" Like, "How are you feeling? Are you gonna feel anxious?" It is just one of the most awful feelings, so this feeling of constantly being on edge is just kind of a sign that your nervous system is stuck in that survival mode, when you've been dealing with anxiety and panic for a while, your brain sort of gets stuck in this mode of like everything's dangerous, right? And it can lead to that feeling of on edge. And that sort of can become a normal. Like you can sort of just feel this constant, like, I can't come down, I can't relax, I can't breathe. But your body has just sort of learned this and it can unlearn this. I'm like kind of oversimplifying this one, but your body has kind of learned to stay heightened. It's learned to stay activated. And it's probably because of things that have happened, right? You've had events, you've had a lot of anxiety, you've had a lot of panic. And so there's nothing wrong with you. It's just your system needs some gentle, healthy pushes of being shown we can trust our body, we can trust our mind. And when you take small, consistent steps to reteach your body how to feel that safety and trust again, you will feel like, okay, I'm not on constant edge. I don't feel this constant tension. Also, too, there's just so much stress and overwhelm, and you're not really looking at how to reduce some of that. I think a lot of us, especially, I feel like we've talked about this a lot, but like the goers, the doers, the high achievers, the perfectionists, we often take a lot of things on and we say yes and we do all the things. And there's just so much stress and overwhelm that leads to so much anxiety. And it's like, well, of course you feel like you're constantly on edge, right? Like you have so much on your plate and you have that disordered anxiety. And so you're just like on this loop. So sometimes it can be really small, as in like just checking in with yourself and saying, hey, like, how are we feeling? And can we take something off of our plates? Like, could we give to ourselves? Like, could we do something different? Like, could we ask for freaking help? Could we share how we're feeling? Could we ask for just somebody to listen, right? To just for somebody to be there. So I think there are multiple reasons, of course, but I would say the biggest reason for feeling like you're constantly on edge is just because your nervous system has been so heightened and it's learned to be so heightened for quite a while. But you can retrain your brain, right? Not to be in this mode that not everything is dangerous and we can actually breathe and come down to a state of calm more regularly. With that, I think I wanna include this because I hate this more than anything, that people sort of have a lot of talk about nervous system regulation and, like, you just need to regulate your nervous system, and when you do that, like, voila, you're always in this regulated state, and you always feel calm, and you don't ever feel anxious. No, our bodies come in and out of that, like, my body is not always regulated, right? Like, I have stress, I have overwhelm, I have a lot going on, at times. And so my body comes in and out of it, but it comes in and out of it much more easily and without me having to do all the practices and all the things and without forcing because I did a lot of that work and continue to do a lot of that work to support myself and to support my nervous system. So it's not you're always going to be in this I'm calm, I'm regulated, everything's good. Like no, we're human beings. That's not normal. It's normal though to be able to come in and out of it once you've really practiced being consistent and supporting yourself, right? And supporting your nervous system.
Yeah, I agree. I think also like it's important to understand that like your brain is programmed to know what has happened, not what will happen. Like we're not psychic. And thank God we're not. Like, and I feel like people with panic disorder want to feel like they're psychic. Like they want to feel like they know what's going to happen. And I
Yep.
feel like that leads to a lot of like, what if? What if this happens? Or what if this happens? Remember, you're not a psychic, and that's great. But also your brain is programmed to keep you safe. So it remembers bad things. Like if you think about your childhood memories, a lot of people say that they can remember all the negative ones and not any like very little of the good ones. And that's for a reason in a way, because your brain is programmed to keep you safe. It's programmed to remember what happened, but not what will happen. The only thing you can really do is just relax and learn how to relax and say, you know what, if it comes, I'm going to be just fine because I know that I can handle whatever comes and whatever's coming.
Yeah. And that really, really does happen when you build that trust and safety in yourself. And so that's why I'm just like I'm going to shut up about it, but I'm so excited about this class because so many people don't understand this is such a big piece. You can't force calm and safety. You cannot force these things. And so when you're like I'm constantly feeling anxious or my body's going there, I'm panicking and I can't do anything to sort of stop it. Well, it's because you don't have a whole lot of trust and safety in yourself. So let's start there, and let's not start with just like having you suck it up and like you should just be able to feel it and move through it and like be okay. Like, no, that's not reasonable.
Totally, totally. No, I agree. I think what you're saying is awesome. Like, it's great advice. It really is. I think it's actually a pillar in how it to get over this, like, and how to put it behind us is literally to just really get that safety in ourselves and feel like we no matter what happens, no matter where we are safe, we are at home with ourselves, and that's really the most important part of it.
Yeah, for sure.
You ready for question 5?
Yeah, let's hear it.
I hate how small my world has gotten. I used to do so much, and now everything feels like a big deal. Will I ever feel like myself again?
Oh my gosh. Okay, yes, done. Next question. No, I'm just kidding.
I agree, yes.
Yes, I I know this is so hard because when you're going through anything, when you're really in the thick of it, there is nothing and nobody that's gonna be able to convince you, like, yes, you are gonna come out of this and you are gonna feel like yourself again, and not only are you gonna feel like yourself again, but you're gonna feel like an even better version of yourself. You're gonna feel even more grounded, more capable, more willing, more free, more peaceful. So I just want to start with that because I feel like it makes sense that you can't see it and that you can't feel it and that you really don't believe it. And I always say it's not about trying to force yourself to believe it. Like, yes, you're going to get to that place. Like, I'm going to get there and it's going to happen. And I always say blind faith is a good thing. Like, let's have some faith, right? That you will get through this and that you're going to come out the other side, but it's not going to be by forcing and trying to like set timelines and get yourself there on a specific path. You really got to let it look however it looks. But I totally understand this. Like, this feeling of I hate how small my world has gotten, and it makes sense. If you're somebody who has done lots of limiting and restricting because of panic, I just want you to have some self compassion with yourself right now because it makes sense that you've done a lot of limiting and restricting. It makes sense that you've pulled back. It makes sense that maybe you're not going and doing a lot of the things that you used to do. Panic is scary. It is really scary. And I don't care what people say, like learning to recover from panic disorder is not about not fearing panic. It like, if I could put this on a fucking billboard, you cannot cause yourself to not be afraid of panic. Panic, right? This physiological response that happens in our bodies is designed to make you scared so that you take action. So, we're not saying recovery is about becoming unafraid of panic. Like, what? I don't think I ever was unafraid of panic. I am very honest, right, that I've had one panic attack since I've been recovered. I was scared out of my mind. Like, I knew what was happening. I have had thousands of panic attacks, right? But I was scared. So it's never about not being scared of panic. Like, it makes sense. And so you've got to allow yourself to recognize these things and to have so much self compassion with yourself. So if you have pulled back a lot and your world has shrunken a lot because of anxiety and panic, just start here by saying, it's okay. It makes sense. We don't like it, right? It sucks, but this is something that we're working on, right? And we are going to get all those pieces back of ourselves. They're still there. They just need some uncovering. And this is what I always tell my students, you're not here to like fix yourself, to repair yourself. Like, we're just uncovering layers that have just gotten a little bit buried. And I know like fear, anxiety, all of it can bury those layers so deep, and you feel like, I am not a confident person. I am not a person who just goes and does. I'm not a person who's adventurous. I'm not any of the things it used to be, but that's not true. Like, all that stuff is still there, and you have to recognize that. And every little step you take, like how insignificant it might look or feel, is helping to expand your world again. You're never starting from 0 ever. You're never starting back from square one. Like, you're just reconnecting with yourself and those parts that have always been there, and they're wanting to come back. And your body, when you start working with it and you start working with your mind, it wants those things for you, and it's going to help you as best it can. And you really got to slow down and allow yourself just to take some consistent steps even when things feel hard, but I have to throw in another but here. Don't hate me. I feel like I'm throwing in a but in each one. Again, I have to say here, it's really important to be honest with yourself because our worlds often shrink by our choices. And this can be a really hard thing to hear when you're struggling with panic and agoraphobia. I don't want you by any means to beat yourself up. I don't want to add any shame, but you do have to recognize I have made a lot of choices, right, that have caused my world to become a lot smaller than I want it to be. And now I have to make choices to get that back to a place that I want it to be. And I think this is also another big reason why I struggled for so long is because I was sort of just playing that game of like, this is just who I am. I'm just an anxious person. I'm always going to be this way. Like, I'm never going to get better. And living in that place just caused me really, truly to believe this is who I am. And this is just, these are sort of the cards that I've been dealt, and I'm always going to be this way. And it wasn't until a therapist, a really wise therapist, said to me, "Shannon, I think maybe we have to look at your role in this." And I was like, "Oh," I instantly had that feeling of like, maybe I should not see this therapist anymore. But thank goodness she said that to me because truly there were so many things that I was doing that I knew weren't helpful, they weren't healthy, and I really needed to do things differently. So honesty, self-compassion, such a big piece of this too. Like you've got to be honest with yourself in your role in your own healing. And sometimes, oftentimes, we all get in our own way because we're human, and that's okay. Like you've got to be gentle with yourself for that.
I just wanted to say one of the things that kinda stopped me from going out when I was in, like, the bulk of the panic disorder was being afraid of what other people would think when I would have a panic attack. Not so much the panic itself, because I knew that feeling very well, but it
Mhm.
was more like, "Will people judge me? Will people" and that's where the superpower came. When I finally got over it, I was like, "I don't give an F what anyone thinks," and that panic disorder did that for me. It showed me that I cannot put anybody else's idea of me over my own idea of me. And that was a really liberating feeling to come out of that. And I owe that to panic disorder. I really do. Just to
Yeah.
say, I don't care, you know? Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad that you said that because that's such a common thing that I see in panic diffuse and too in my community is like when I'm out, I don't want anyone to see me like anxious. I don't want anyone to see me panic. And like that fear of embarrassment and judgment and just general shame is such a big piece of recovery. And like you gotta allow yourself to work through that stuff because you can't keep carrying around this shame and these fears, and when you allow yourself to go toward those things too, like, it helps so much for you to heal that relationship with yourself and your relationship with anxiety, so I'm so glad you mentioned that.
Okay, Shannon, we have one last question. Why does anxiety show up in places I used to feel totally safe in?
Oh, this can be so frustrating, right? And also confusing and discouraging. But sometimes it's just our bodies throwing us some anxiety. Like maybe we're more stressed. Maybe we had an argument with a partner. Maybe we didn't get the best night's sleep the night before, right? Like there are so many reasons why you can just feel anxious and it can seem very random and not really make sense. And I know like this can be really sticky because when you feel anxious in a place or situation, you've typically not felt it. You can go to that place very quickly of like, what am I doing wrong? I'm not healing. Like I am clearly getting worse. Like what is going on? And you can kind of go into what I call that oh shit mode. And that's like the worst because there's no reason to go into oh shit mode. Like, we don't need to figure this out. We don't need to analyze. We don't need to try to problem solve. Like, we just need to allow you to have this moment where anxiety popped up and it doesn't really make any sense. And you're like, what the heck? And meeting this with self compassion is so important. Like, just allowing yourself to have this moment where you're like, oh, okay, this doesn't make any sense. I always say, give yourself permission to feel anxious, whether it makes sense to feel it or not. I don't care if there's a blatant reason that makes it make sense. Like, I always feel anxious, right? And when I'm in the car riding as a passenger. And now I felt it when I'm driving. Well, I don't care if it makes sense logically, right, or not. Just give yourself permission to feel your dang feelings. And that's going to be so much more helpful than fighting it and creating all these stories and making yourself feel like shit about it. And two, I always say, right, like we talked about in the beginning, it's not the place, it's not the situation. It doesn't matter, right, where it pops up, when it pops up, just allowing it. Sometimes too, I have to say, right, like your brain can just associate certain things with anxiety, with panic, right? And so it might see something, hear something, smell something, and it's like, oh, okay, and now we're going to throw you some anxiety. But just like your brain learned the association, it can unlearn it. And so that's why I talk so much about like you have to take that consistent, healthy action and have those healthy responses to show your brain, like, we don't need to go there, right? We're just standing in line at the grocery store. Or we're just like walking in a busy area. Like, we don't need to go there. So, although I know anxiety showing up in places in which you've typically felt safe in is so hard, don't make it harder. Like, do not make yourself suffer and add to it. Just really work on allowing yourself to feel what you're feeling. That'll be so helpful.
I love that, and just being curious about it too, like, "Oh, wow, I just felt anxiety in a new place, like, I wonder why." Like, sometimes if you approach the anxiety with, like, just curiosity and, like, not dread or, like, or negative emotion, like, you can learn a lot about yourself and, like, the mechanisms of which drive your anxiety, like, oh, for me, like, it was like, "Oh, I've had anxiety about where I sit at the movies, like, I have to sit on the end," and then when I started taking a lot of plane rides and I was in the middle seat, I was like, "Oh, this is a very similar kind of anxiety as
Yeah.
when I was at the movies," but that's similar as in I felt stuck in the middle, in this middle
Uh-huh.
seat, and it was kind of a similar, like, "Oh, wow, I can't believe that extended from," I mean, it extended from the movie theater experience to the plane experience, and I think a lot of times you can learn a lot about your own patterns, and I think it's a curiosity. Each one of us struggles from anxiety differently, and I think it's just another moment to sit with yourself and be like, "Oh, wow, that's an interesting part of this condition for me," So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and just, like, being curious in that way of, like, "Oh, how is my brain trying to protect me right now?"
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and yeah, sometimes it is just these really subtle associations that our brains have made, and I that's such a good example, but it is, like, going back, right? If you feel that subtleness of feeling stuck or trapped, your brain's probably gonna go there, right? Okay, so I have to say, with all these questions that we've talked about and that I've answered, like there is such a theme, right, of feeling this lack of trust and safety and disconnection. Like in so many of these questions, I hear like there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of overwhelm, and there's a lot of feeling like I just don't know what I'm doing. Like, am I doing things right? Am I doing enough? So if you're feeling this way, I probably by the time this episode comes out, I'll have maybe launched this free class. I don't know, we'll see. But I encourage you, take this free class on how to build trust and safety within your body because it is a big part of what will help you to heal and not continue to feel like I'm doing all the things and nothing is working. Like, what is going on? So, we'll link to that in the show notes. But, Mary, this has been so fun. I'm just so glad that you came on and we're able to share so much of your perspective and your experience. And, like, it's just felt like such a good, fun conversation and helpful.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's been so great. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so honored to be able to just speak to your listeners. Here's another person that has been through the same struggles and can understand and empathize with what all you guys are going through.
Oh, I love it. Well, I will talk to you soon, but you will definitely be back on the podcast soon.
Oh, thank you. I can't wait to come back.
I hope you loved this episode of A Healthy Push. If you have, I'd be so grateful if you could leave me a rating and review wherever you're listening to this podcast. This helps people to find the show and get the support they need. And if you know someone who could use a little push, be sure to share this episode with them. And for even more support, head over to ahealthypush.com for show notes and loads of tips, tools, and inspiration to help you on your recovery journey. I'll see you next week.